Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Trend Report. I'm glad you're joining me today. This is going to be a really fun conversation with two first-time podcasters, but these two ladies are not new to me because I have the pleasure to work with both of them each and every day. And today we're going to talk about the evolution of a brand and what that means and how brands evolve and why it's important inside of our industry. And I'd like to welcome our guests today, Anjul Chandi and Erin Torres with Thinkspace. Great to have both of you here today.
Thank you.
Having us.
So Anjul, I know I took a moment to introduce you, but tell everybody what it is you do at Thinkspace.
I'm the most senior person here at Thinkspace, so I'm the CEO, Sid.
That's awesome. And you actually started the business, right?
I did indeed.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the history of Thinkspace just a little bit. But Erin, tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do at Thinkspace.
So I'm Erin Torres. I am the marketing director for Thinkspace. So I've been working to help them build a brand over the last few months, and we've had some really exciting adventures in our brand journey, and it's been a fun ride.
And we're going to talk about some of that today as we talk about the evolution of a brand. But I want to know from each of you, Anjul, I'm going to come to you. How did you get into the furniture business?
So that's a very interesting story. I'm fairly new to furniture compared to a lot of my counterparts here in this industry. So I actually initially started my journey in food and drink and health and beauty and direct selling companies. So pretty much a furniture novice until a few years ago. I met Mark Bailey, who's not here today, but he's the co-founder of Thinkspace. And he's been in furniture since he got out of school. So he's like an industry dinosaur. He's been around forever, knows everybody there is to know in London and beyond in furniture. So we both had the opportunity to come together on a project a few years back, and let's say the rest is history. I'm still in this industry. I didn't think I'd be here for long, but I guess I became to like it a little bit like an accountant working in finance. But yeah, it's something I've really grown to love. So I absolutely love being in furniture today.
So, I love hearing people's stories about like how they got into the business because, you don't go to a college career day and there's a furniture table set up and said, come learn about the contract interiors industry. Most people just fall into it either from family or friends, and they fall into it. And I think that people fall into two categories. You either love it and you stay forever, or you like, this is okay. And you stay for a few years and then you get out. And even if you are one of those, I love it and stay forever, and you decide to leave, you end up coming back after a time period. So, I'm not going to call myself a dinosaur, but I am one of those people that have been around a really long time. So Erin, you and I have worked together, for a really long time. Back in the day, we worked together at AIS for many, many years. And then you started your own agency, but I don't know that I've ever heard your story about how you got into the industry. So what led you to office furniture?
Yeah, so my when I started out in marketing, I started out in manufacturing. So I was actually working before furniture for a digital television processing company that basically did television transmitters and digital processing equipment. And I was marketing basically these large refrigerator boxes that sat on top of a mountain. And I decided that I needed to do something different, and I applied to a position, and this is what it said. It said, marketing position, need to think outside the box. That's all it said.
That was the whole job description.
That was all it said. And it didn't even say the company name because it was like through a recruiter. So I didn't even think it was real. So I applied to it. And then for anyone in furniture who knows AIS, it was AIS. And at the time, Michael Dugali. And if anybody knows Michael Dugali, could understand that type of a position being posted. And so that was how I started. I met with Mike Dugali. I went to AIS very young in my career. Thought it was actually very glamorous to move into furniture after large refrigerator boxes on top of a mountain and boxes of digital processing equipment. So I was very excited that there were fabrics and finishes and colors. And even though most of it was gray, I was still excited. And so that's how I started.
Okay. Again, I love hearing people's stories about how they get into the industry. And as you were describing what you're doing, I'm thinking, okay, selling a large refrigerator box on top of a mountain has got to be harder than selling furniture.
It was difficult. It was very scientific,
Oh
very
my
high
gosh.
tech. There was a lot behind it. And it was, yeah. So furniture was much lighter. It was
Yeah.
lighter. It
Erin,
was
that's really Erin, that's really interesting you say that. So I came from the world of like beauty and like, you know, facial creams and like makeup. And I was like, how am I going to ever get excited about like a table chair, a table leg, like a high
yeah.
back sofa? I was like really struggling, but yeah, I love it. I love it now.
Yeah.
Well, we all have a story, right? And those journeys have led us here together today as we all work together each and every day with ThinkSpace. And the listeners have heard my story about ThinkSpace, so we won't go into that again. But I just kind of love how journeys come together, and talking about what we're doing and where we're going, I think is important for us as a brand, but also just to continue the story, your story, Anjul, and your story, Erin, as well. But I got one other question about the furniture industry, and then we're going to move on to the next topic. So, Erin, what do you love about the furniture business?
I think for me, what I love about the furniture business is I love the idea that a piece of furniture can enhance someone's life. It can make it can really change someone's life for the better. It could provide comfort during a hard time. To me, there's a story behind that piece. And so I think for me, I like to tap into that emotional side to something that most people would look at as just an object. And that's kind of what I like about it.
Oh, that is so good. That's one of the best. That's one of the best responses I've ever heard, actually. Anjul, what about you? What do you love about the furniture
struggle
industry?
to top that response. I think for me, it's like coming from different industries. I think I love the people that I meet in this industry. So I love working with and clients, the architect community, the designers, dealers. I think I really love the integrity and the honesty of the people that I meet. So that's like a big thing for me.
Yeah, Megan, that's also a great people. People in this industry are amazing, right? And what you get to people you get to meet, people you get to work with, it's so much fun. And it's always been like one of the biggest draws for me is the people and the relationships that you can build. Even if you only see somebody once or twice a year, you can build these amazing relationships with people. But, I remember my very first project that I ever did in the office furniture industry. We won't talk about how many years ago this was. I was working at a Hayworth dealer in Birmingham, Alabama. For those of you that know my story, that was my very first job in the furniture industry. And I remember working on a project. It was a really small little project. I didn't know what laminate versus veneer was, by the way. And I remember the feeling after this project was finished, and I worked on it with the designer, and I walked away from the space and I kind of looked back and I went, wow, I did that. That's really cool. And it's kind of to your point, Erin, every piece of furniture has a story. It has a function, it has a unique need. And, I got to look at that space and go, wow, I created that. I help people create that. Look at how cool that is. And for me, that's always been one of those things that is really important to me, be able to step back and look at, oh, wow, we did that. And as an industry, this is what we do. And we often only look at the outside, but there's a whole nother inside of how what we sell impacts people and impacts businesses. So we're not going to talk about all that today because we could go down a big rabbit hole with that. But I'm sure our listeners are wanting to know straight from Anjul, as the CEO of ThinkSpace, who is ThinkSpace?
So ThinkSpace is a woman-owned company. ThinkSpace is responsible for bringing European acoustic designed product into the US. So we know that design pretty much starts over here in Europe. And, Mark and I are both based out of London. We get to see the trends a lot sooner than they are coming to the US. So we were able to see a gap in the market for some of these trends that weren't in the US that we were seeing out here. So we wanted to be the first to bring them to the US furniture market.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. And I do like the fact that you just mentioned that you're both in London. If you guys are struggling to understand some of the things she says, down in the show notes, I'll decipher what each word means, by the way. I'm just
Thanks,
kidding.
Sid.
I work with her every day, so I get to pick on her just a little bit.
My Queen's English is not working for the US.
No, you sound great. You sound great.
King's English.
The King's English is right today. It's the King's English. But I do think we've always, as an industry, especially in the United States, looked to Europe for leading edge and new design. And there are a lot of companies that are looking to tap into the US market. And so you and Mark are there. You get to see some of the brands and some of the products that are coming out through events like Clerkenwell or the Scandinavian furniture fair that was in Stockholm not too long ago, right? Orgatech, all these shows that are in Europe. And so you get to see all of these products and then identify the ones that kind of align with who Thinkspace is and what we want to bring in. But we're also supporting those brands in Europe that want part of the US market. They want to come in, but they don't really have a mechanism or a way to do that. So alignment of the right products and the right brands is, I think, is what one of the things that fuels the growth of Thinkspace. So I really appreciate that perspective. Erin, anything you want to add to like who is Thinkspace? Because you're kind of the newbie in the group only since January, I believe. So finishing 5 months. So what's your perspective about who is Thinkspace?
To me, so Thinkspace is bringing life back to the workspace by offering products, acoustic products that people can add on within their market, within their workspace. So acoustic products, some fun products, things that are needed for work, for wellness, for meeting spaces. So the brand is really shaping to basically provide what businesses are struggling with right now, and that is getting people back to the office. Mm-hmm. So what we're trying to do is sort of have the right product offering so that employees can feel like they can have those private conversations at work, and they feel happy to come back to work again because it's got some cool components within it. So that's really, I think, what we're trying to center what we're doing around. But it's all also important that everything that we're offering is in the acoustic category.
Yeah, 100%. And before we talk too much about the future and some of the new stuff coming, Anjul, I want to go back. I want to go back and travel back in time to 2018 when you and Mark said, let's take this product to the US. And you basically were new to furniture. Mark knew several people here. Tell us a little bit of the story about how you got started and what the first couple of years were like.
Turbulent. So Mark and I started the business, as you quite rightly said, back in June 1, 2018, which still seems like yesterday, but yeah, a few years on. So we started the business based out of London, which in itself was quite an interesting dynamic. So at that point in the business, we just had like the privacy booth line, and that was keeping us, very busy. We were flying over to the US to meet dealers, to ramp up the business, get the momentum going. So every month I'd be on a flight, and I'd be meeting, I'd be meeting dealers all across the US. So from like New York all the way down to California. We would present to dealers, we would present to architects and designers, and we were really trying to get our name out there, to be honest. We started winning some business, which obviously that all helps to keep the momentum going and putting it back into the business. But I remember in the very early days, it was I used to do the quotes myself, Sid. So I used to build up templates in Excel, lock them up as a PDF so they'd look more professional. But we were, very much started the business from nothing. We had some contacts, and the momentum's really just been from that.
So what I think is interesting about this is that all startups have a story about how they got started, right? And all startups have a journey that they've been on about what they did. And so you came over once a month, you would do quotes on Excel spreadsheets and send them over as a PDF so they looked more professional. You would take calls in the middle of the night, literally, from people in California needing help with something, and started just truly grassroots in a very saturated industry. And I say saturated, meaning a lot of manufacturers, a lot of distributors in our industry. and you started grassroots, and over the years, you've just continued to grow and to grow and to grow and to grow. And here we are in 2023 with explosive growth happening at Thinkspace in 2023. So when you think back, Anjul, on the journey of Thinkspace and what you and Mark have done, is there any one particular memory or one particular thing that just stands out to you as that this was a really good thing we did or a really pivotal moment in the business?
I mean, one of our first clients was one of our first dealers was an Inside Source, and it takes longer to get product over to California. So there was this bright idea that why don't we give them stock? That's actually the origin of our stock story. So today we have 5 locations fully stocked across the US, but that actually all started with Inside Source. So they would take a container of products and decant that and use that all across the Bay Area. So I think that's a very poignant moment in the business where, we knew that we were the only ones doing it. None of our competitors held stock. Everything coming out of Europe obviously carried a lot longer lead time. So taking that barrier down from being over here in Europe was the only way to do it was by holding stock in the market. So I'd say that's probably the most interesting
Well, as somebody that is responsible for the sales of Thinkspace, I sit back and go, that was a great decision, because stocking is a huge part of what we do at Thinkspace, and having an inventory position, as you said, in 5 different locations, it's a significant part of our business to be able to ship product within 7 days. And so I think it was a great decision that you made all those years ago to start stocking with one dealer, particularly Inside Source, and look at how it's blossomed and grown over the course. I did not know that story. So thank you for sharing that story. I'm learning something, guys. So I want to shift gears for a minute and start kind of talking about brand and the evolution of a brand. So Erin, let's come to you. You're the marketing genius on this call. I've been witness to all of your amazing ideas and the things that you've done in 2 different businesses now. And so I'm excited that you're part of Thinkspace. Obviously, I'm excited that you're a part of Thinkspace, but let's get your perspective about what is a brand. Most people, when they think about a brand, they think about a company's logo. They think about the colors. They think about that dang PowerPoint that you got to follow to put everything in the right place in a PowerPoint, that kind of stuff. But what really is a company's brand?
So I always like to look at brand as how it's really the feeling that somebody gets when they work with your company, when they see your company, when they talk to someone from your company. That's really what your brand is. And so, I mean, another way of looking at it is like, what does someone say about your company when you're not there? That's really what your brand is. So sometimes it's looking at, it's making a company understand it's more than just what you say you do, what you say your brand is, what your logo looks like. It's everything else. It's all the other elements. And I think in today's world, that feeling, that emotional side is so important, because nobody remembers anything today, but they will remember how a brand made them feel. They will remember that. They won't remember your mission statement or, all those things, but they're going to remember how that brand made you feel.
So you just hit on one of my most favorite topics, which is, and Anjul's heard me talk about this a lot, which is customer experience, right? And what does customer experience mean? And for those of you that haven't had a chance to actually listen, I'm going to encourage you to go back and listen to episode, I believe it is episode 117. I'm going to check real quick right now while we talk, where my friends at the Coaches Roundtable joined me to talk about the book, Unreasonable Hospitality, where it is episode 117, where we talked about the book Unreasonable Hospitality and the importance of customer experience and how you and how your brand makes people feel. And Erin, you're spot on. That is so important about a brand. But also what I think is really interesting, you did not mention what we sell as part of our brand.
No.
You didn't mention furniture. You didn't mention the black task chair or the $10,000 conference table at all. And I think that's very important, because I think as an industry, we lean way into what we sell rather than the problem that what we sell solves for our customers and how we make our customers feel.
Yeah. I mean, it's really true. I mean, I've been working in manufacturing for 22 years. It's difficult to get a manufacturer to understand that it's not about the chair. It's not about that. It's everything else. But once someone buys into that, they understand it, because it's that brand elevation is what will help your company grow. That's what's going to help your sales grow. That's what's going to help you continue to prosper as a company.
So thank you, Erin. So Anjul, I want to come to you for a second. When you think about ThinkSpace and ThinkSpace's brand, so Anjul, let me come to you for a second. I'd really like your perspective on what is it that you would like ThinkSpace's brand or the company to become?
I would like ThinkSpace to become the go-to brand when a facility manager is sitting there thinking about, how do I get people back to the workplace? How do I combat today's challenge of hybrid working? Like, I'd like them to think about us as the go-to unique creative solutions at that point, because I think that's where the brand's going. We don't want to have everyday product that everyone else does and be another Me Too brand, but we want to curate like an interesting eclectic mix of product, which is really unique to the workplace today. And also answering the challenges in the workplace today.
And I think it's a great vision. And I think we're really stepping into that and really leaning into that. But Erin, when you think about evolutions and brands changing, you know, from one logo to another logo, or one tagline to another tagline, or whatever it might be, why is it important from a marketing perspective for a brand to evolve?
So I think a brand evolution really occurs for a couple different reasons, whether the company is changing or whether the world has changed, right? When you look at an evolution, why a brand should evolve, it's always the idea that you obviously want to succeed. You want to increase your sales. You want to be relevant, right? So I think that brands need to evolve as the company changes, as trends change, as the world changes, to basically have a response to what's going on out there.
And I think it's safe to say that in the office furniture industry or the interiors industry, our world is really evolving. The way customers buy product is evolving. What their needs are is evolving. The size of their footprint of their real estate is evolving to be smaller. I mean, there's so many bits and pieces of evolution that are happening inside of our industry. So I would love your perspective. Anjul, I'm going to give you a minute to think about this. But Erin, from your perspective, how is ThinkSpace's brand evolving?
So I think, so for ThinkSpace, when I started, you know, we were talking about, we fit in the acoustic phone booth sort of category. These are the products that we have. And as the brand, as the company started, there was one product that the company was carrying. And so what had to happen was we had to develop a story around who ThinkSpace was. It wasn't about the product you were carrying, but who ThinkSpace was. And then as we started to round that out, we started to think, well, what else can we add? What are some of the other things out there? What are some of the challenges that are occurring? And I think that it really became a really growth moment to sort of have some of these conversations and really reshape everything. So when you go through these brand moments, you actually start taking your sales goals, your goals of the company, all of these things, and sort of shape it like a ball of clay and figure out how it all sort of works together. And so I think that's what we're doing. And that's what we've been doing over the last few months.
And I just want to echo that it's going really fast too. I mean, like we're moving at a Roadrunner's pace, even faster than the Roadrunner, right? I feel like the Coyote sometimes to draw that comparison. But Anjul, tell me about your thoughts about this. How do you think ThinkSpace's brand is evolving?
So as Erin quite rightly said, when we when we started the business, we had one brand that we were bringing to the US. That was Hush Office. So it was very hard for us to, in fact, build our brand effectively as Thinkspace. In fact, what we ended up doing was doing a fine job of building the Privacy Booth brand, right? So there was always we had a bit of an identity crisis between who we were actually, where we were very much leveraging off the Hush Office brand more than we were doing our own brand. So I think it's taken us a while to get everything, you know, in place. But yes, right now we are absolutely shining the light firmly on the Thinkspace brand, right? So we have more product and more partners that we're working with, which also I think makes more sense for Thinkspace, right? So we have a story now, which we you know, we're very much clung on to the Privacy Booth brand before. So yeah, now we, you know, Thinkspace will be bringing to the US market, you know, a cutting edge acoustic products. This is who we are. So we're going to very much build our brand far more effectively than we have ever done, which is a very exciting moment in our journey.
100%. I think it's an exciting time. And, you know, it's something that I think has evolved very quickly too. And, you know, started with, hey, we need to lean more into Thinkspace, and then we need to look at product expansion. And then Erin comes in and goes, we really need to zone in on what the messaging is, which has landed with something that I absolutely love, which is bringing life back to the office. And now product categories that fit very well with the unique solutions that were coming. And this is how I describe it. We decided not just to take a bite out of the apple. We bit the whole apple and then half of another apple all at one time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Aaron's going, yes, we did.
We did. Yeah.
And that led us to this decision. So we got new brand. We have a new logo, which is really cool. Erin, you want to talk about the logo for a minute and the logo redesign? I think this is a great story of a part of the evolution of the brand.
Yeah, so Thinkspace had a great logo to begin with, but how it was, so there's an eye in the Thinkspace with a dot. It had two bubbles over it, or one bubble over it, right? One bubble. And then what we did when we started to really look at the logo, you know, part of our goal too is to really be the thought leaders in this category, in the acoustic category, in this this idea of bringing life back to the office. And so what we started to do was look at the logo, and the eye was just a standard eye. We actually shaped the top part to look like shoulders and to look like a person. And we added an extra think bubble to look like it was thinking. And so really the color set stayed the same. The logo really stayed the same. It was just some really smart elements that we added that added a feeling of emotion, that added a feeling of think, right? That added something that you could connect with more. So that was one of the ways that we changed that logo.
And there have been a lot of subtle little changes like that across the board. And during this process is we were like, okay, let's go to Neocon. So we're like, okay, let's go to Neocon.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Sid, really, Neocon? And we're like, okay, we're going to go on the 7th floor. And then that led to, wait a minute, there's some vacant spaces in the Mart. And so now all of a sudden we have a permanent showroom, which I'm super excited about, on the 10th floor, suite 1099. Most of you have heard me say that before. And Neocon's like a week away from the launch of this episode. And so we've been really, really busy zoning in on our product categories. And while while Erin and I over here in the US with the rest of the team working hard, Anjul and Mark are in Europe finding and identifying new partners for us. So Anjul, I'd love to hear a little bit from you about when you're out there looking at products and looking at partners, what are some of the driving factors that you say, this is a good product for us, or this is a good partner for us?
So for me, the product really has to make my head turn, right? I want to walk past something, and I mean, there's so much furniture everywhere, right, in these shows. And for me, it really has to be a show-stopping concept that's made me walk back, turn around, and go and learn more about that product. Because if I'm doing that, I know that, you know, the audience is going to be doing the same. And then I think another really big thing is is again back to people. So we want to work with, good partners that are, that we have, that we're aligned with in terms of our vision. They're going to be supporting us and the business in the US, because it's not an easy gig. It's not, I think there's a mentality in Europe that, you just get product into America and that's it, you walk away. But no, it's not. Getting product over effectively, packaging it effectively so it doesn't get damaged along the way, then having the day two service element of that. There's always going to be challenges. There's no getting away from that. So knowing that we're working with partners that are willing to share our vision in the customer has to come first, I think is very important as well. And I think the last thing is just fun people. We like being around good people, right? So we want to work with partners that are going to make business fun.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, 100%. And that kind of ties into the product categories: workspace, meet space, fun space, and wellness space are the product categories. And so,
Mm-hmm.
Erin, you've had yours, we start to wrap up today. You've had your head down, like buried into creating an amazing experience for our dealers, our reps, designers, and users come the third week of June the 12th through the 15th. Tell us a little bit about what our listeners, if they're coming to NeoCon, could expect to see from Thinkspace and at our space in the Mart.
Yeah, so we're going to have product in our space, like we talked about the Hush Office line, the acoustic booth line. We're also going to have some new product from Glamacro Sweden and another partner, Look Industries. So there's going to be products for work, products for meeting, products for fun, and we also have a really cool wellness product that we're also showing as well. But from the so besides just the product, there's also some fun elements that you're going to see. And one of the things that, we think about bringing life back to the workspace. One of the things that I think is really the big key to life is music. And one of the things that we're doing, we're going to have some live acoustic music in the space, which is going to have a nice, happy vibe, but also allow people to go into these booths, into these meeting spaces, close the door and see what it's like to work inside, what it's like to drown out that outside noise, what it's like to open it up and hear the differences while they're there. So that's one of the other things that we'll have there. And it's going to be a clean but bright and vibrant space. And we're really excited to make our debut. I mean, it's our NeoCon debut.
It absolutely is. So, Anjul, what are you most excited about as it relates to debuting Thinkspace at NeoCon 2023, or even what's scaring you? Like, tell me how you're feeling about NeoCon 2023.
Well, one of the things that is scaring me is that band. I hope you can actually shut the door and it does drown away the music.
Oh my goodness.
But obviously it's not meant to be, there's not like bands playing in the workplace, but yeah, no, it's
You mean we're not going to be dancing and stuff?
It's a cool creative concept. What am I excited about? I'm just excited about bringing the Thinkspace brand. It's coming to life. I'm like, oh my God, it's like a baby that's actually going to be there and it's going to be real and people can touch and feel the product. Like, we've never had this before in our 5 years journey at Thinkspace. So, I mean, yeah, that's really making the hands stand on my arm at the minute. I'm like, that's going to be cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It really is going to be super exciting, not just for the entire organization and all of our people that will be there, but for our partners, as well as for our customers and for our reps that have been with us. So many of them have been with us from the very beginning, to actually see the brand evolve, see the brand get to a place where we have a permanent showroom where they can bring their customers to showcase all of the really great stuff that we're doing. And guys, we got some really cool things that we're going to be showing. And if you're not coming to NeoCon, not to worry, trust me, Thinkspace, along with every other brand that's at NeoCon, is going to be sure that you know about all the products that are launched and everything after the show. But, I really appreciate the opportunity to chat with both of you today to get your perspectives about this evolution, because I'm in the middle of it every day. And sometimes I lose sight of some of the things that are going on because we get so busy doing things. But final thoughts from you, Erin, about the ThinkSpace, about the brand, about brand evolution or Neocon. What is final thoughts from you today as we wrap up?
Final thoughts. I just think, for the people listening to this podcast, they're obviously interested in furniture. I just think it's a really fun time in furniture. I think it's a really big time for some ingenuity and different ways of thinking. And I feel really blessed that ThinkSpace was open to my ideas as I came in, and the ways that I felt we could think about furniture and think about what the workplace needs and think about how to really solve real problems out there, how to take, everyone's got an open plan, and not everyone, right? But a lot of people move to open plan, right? Panels are dead, move to open plan. And then now they don't want to go back to the workspace because there's no privacy, especially after a pandemic, right? So all these things changed. So how do you help these businesses get back together, and how do you get these people back together? And that was really how I looked at it. If there was one thing, it's like, let's get the human race back together, right? Like let's be people together. So and I think furniture is a huge part of that. It brings people together, it bands them together. So I guess my final thoughts is, like, it's a really fun time. I think definitely come check out the ThinkSpace brand. I mean, I'm so thankful to ThinkSpace for allowing them to go down my ThinkSpace journey with them. And yeah, I think it's a fun time in furniture. I think it's a time to just, I think it's a lot of ingenuity can happen right now if it's done right.
I totally agree with you on that. And I had not really thought about the word fun, because we see all these challenges, we saw these changes, we see all this evolution happening, but I love the way you describe it. It is a fun time to be here, because now is a great opportunity for brands to set themselves apart with how they're supporting their customers, the products they're bringing to market, and how we're helping the workplace evolve, and honestly leading with the workplace evolution happening. So, Anjul, what about you? Final thoughts from you on this great conversation today?
I think final thoughts for me are, when you surround yourselves by great people, you work hard, you push each other, you ask great questions, you care deeply about a business, and you have a purpose to make a difference, amazing things can be achieved.
That is well said. I mean, that is perfect. And there's no reason for me to add anything else beyond that. Ladies, thank you for today, for this conversation. If our audience would like to get in touch with you, Anjul, start with you. What's the best place for them to do that?
I'm accessible by social, phone call, email.
We'll drop all that information down in the show notes for you. Erin, what about you? Best place to get in touch with you?
LinkedIn.
Perfect. Just remember, if you do reach out, please be sure you drop a note that says, hey, you heard Anjul and Erin today on the Trend Report, and that's why you're reaching out. Guys, thank you so much. If you're at Neocon this year, please be sure, swing by the 10th floor, suite 1099. Come say hello to me, meet Erin and Anjul. We'd welcome you to come in and join us for just a little bit. Go out there and make today great, everyone, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks.